I'm a full-blown caffeine addict since the age of, I think around 18 when I was in the military. The first thing I would do when I was in the military is I would wake up, I would go to the gas station, and I got in the habit of drinking an energy drink every single morning. And I also got severely in the habit of always before working, drinking some caffeine of some kind. And so in order to wake up, in order to work out, in order to work in general, everything was completely tied to caffeine. Once it got to a certain point, I'm sure you might be in this scenario right now, it got to the point where it's not an option to quit. You don't get to quit caffeine. It just doesn't work, especially when you have it connected to all the things that are important to you, me particularly work. Not taking it is like getting rid of all the things you really enjoy. Recently, I completely cold turkey stopped coffee. I don't drink it ever anymore. I'm not going to drink it ever again, except maybe like as an after dinner drink when I go to dinner. I will never drink it for work. I will never drink it to work out. I will never use it as a stimulant for work ever again. And I want to talk about why in this video, because I feel that it really took a huge bite out of my life. It really hurt my health. It actually made me far less productive. Caffeine does not make you more productive. When you first start taking it, maybe the first week, yes. After that, no, it does not. And I'll talk about why. So first up, how does caffeine actually work? How does it actually work? You basically have receptors in your brain that when your brain gets heavily active or you start to get tired, a certain chemical goes into those receptors and it starts making you tired. So what caffeine does is it blocks those receptors. So it stops you from getting tired. Basically, the chemicals are going to go in your brain and say, hey, it's time to slow down. It's time to, rest. It's going to block those. So it's going to make you very alert. And so basically what caffeine does is it basically blocks your body from telling your body what exactly it needs. What your body is feeling, the worn downness, the fatigue, the want to sleep, that's still there. All the negative effects that come with it are still there. Caffeine just blocks it. And then what caffeine also does is it goes and fills the receptors, the other receptors in your body, and triggers cortisol and dopamine. So what cortisol is, it's the fight and flight mechanism. It basically triggers all the increased heart rate, the increased alertness, and basically what you would feel if you saw like a tiger or something in the jungle and you're a caveman. And it also triggers dopamine, which is the thing that makes you happy and feel like you're moving in a good direction. All this is completely artificial. And when you total this all together, it's so nasty because the first few times you do caffeine, or maybe if you're doing it like once a month, once a week or something like that, not too bad. But over time, if you drink it daily like everybody else does, and like I did, this is so damn nasty. Because first off, in your brain, the thing that's telling you to rest, what happens when those receptors are constantly blocked, your brain makes more of them. And then what happens is caffeine can't fill all those, so you have to drink more caffeine to fill them. But then what happens is it's like a credit card. You're building up all this debt of all these sleepy chemicals in your brain, and so the second you stop drinking caffeine, what happens? They flood all those receptors and you crash. You crash. And if you stop drinking caffeine for a few days, your body completely gets overwhelmed because it's overwhelmed with all those things, and your brain isn't designed to work with these sleepy chemicals anymore, and so you're just done. And you're literally addicted. Caffeine does not make you more alert. It does not make you a better worker. What it does is it prevents your body from having to deal with the debt that you've incurred. And so what happens is your energy and who you are is being held hostage by the caffeine. Caffeine reduces you to 50% of who you are. And in order to get to 80% to the point where you can actually feel decent, you have to drink caffeine. Part two, it floods your body with cortisol. Cortisol has a negative effect on literally everything if it's constantly in your body. And it's so commonly known that stress is bad for your body. Aging, digestion, sleep, all the key things that are important to you, feeling good and looking good and staying good and thinking clearly, it messes up all of them. And then finally, we all know that the more dopamine your brain gets, it gets overwhelmed and stops being able to enjoy other things. And so also, what does caffeine do to you? It makes you not able to enjoy other things as much as you possibly could. That's why you're going to notice a lot of people that drink caffeine all the time, like me, for example. It gives you social anxiety even when you're not on caffeine. It makes a lot of things that you would enjoy not enjoyable because your brain cannot enjoy work. It cannot enjoy things without caffeine in it. A lot of people can't work out. They can't work. They can't do something creative or fun unless they get that nice cup of joe in. It gets even worse when you actually start looking at, well, a lot of people that drink a lot of caffeine have anxiety all the time around people because their stress hormones are overblown. Their adrenals are completely worn out. And so look at all that. It holds your energy hostage, it messes up every other part of your body, and what it's going to do is it's going to make it so you can't get the enjoyment out of life and enjoyment out of things unless you have caffeine going through your body. I felt all three of these things. And the reason why there are so many articles online, there's so many things saying caffeine's healthy, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. You can drink it. It's the same exact thing that the cigarette companies did. If you go read a book called Caffeine Blues, it goes into all the research and it's biased as hell. And when cigarette companies started getting in a lot of trouble, they started seeing that cigarettes were killing people. They tried to cover up all of it. And then when they originally released cigarettes, they had doctors promoting it. They were saying it was healthy. And the only reason the jig got caught up is because people started dropping dead of cancer. And for decades and decades and decades, cigarette companies completely covered this up. They paid so many studies to give them biased results. They produced so many studies. They would set up research companies that they owned, and then they would do false studies of their own or biased cherry-pick studies. And why would they do this? Because addictive substances are the #1 most profitable thing you can sell, especially if they're cheap. If you can get a product that's cheap to produce, habit-forming, and addictive, where the person feels pain if they don't have it, and you can get them to use it every single day, you have the biggest cash cow ever.